On today's transmission of Rice Against the Grain, I am joined by Dr. KL, aka Mr. Beneficiary, for lesson number 3, all about the military government and enemies of the state. I will include links down below and above for the playlist that includes lesson 1 and 2, and I definitely encourage you to watch both of them before proceeding with today's video. Before we get into it, make sure you visit ricetvx.com and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain content. You will also find links to all of my various channels as well as my social media. Make sure you're following both of my YouTube channels, Rice TVX as well as Rice Against the Grain. And due to censorship, make sure you follow me on other alternative platforms such as Rumble and Odyssey, where I do post up exclusive content. If you want to support Rice TVX, be sure to check out and join my Patreon channel, where you will get early access to my videos with no ads, unedited. You will also get exclusive content and more. I will include links in the video description for everything I just mentioned, as well as everything shared on today's video. Joining me on today's show is a returning guest, Mr. Dr. KL Beneficiary. I don't know why I added Mr. before the doctor, but he is back for lesson number 3. Now, since we're doing lesson number 3, that means there are 2 previous lessons. I will have a link for the playlist down below in the video description and in the pinned comment section. If you want documents from today's video, I will let you know that you can email me at ricemediagroup@protonmail.com and put KL lesson 3 in the subject line. I will send you the documents. Do not contact KL for the documents. If you're interested in learning from KL and he teaches in private, you can contact him directly, and his information will be in the video description as well. How's it going, my friend?
Very good. Thanks for having me back, Chris. Always enjoy the show.
Well, thank you. And I'm definitely looking forward to this because this is now fresh, new material for me. Because since what we've done is you've been on the show before, we went through 2 different lessons and you had made some other appearances. And then we, a year and a half later, refreshed and did the lessons over. So now here we are at lesson 3, dealing with military government, martial law, and the fact that U.S. citizens are considered enemies of the state. And we are now in class. I'll be quiet. Get your notes out. Make sure you take some good notes. And we're going to go ahead and begin. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to KL, and I will do a screen share. So it is all you, my friend.
Okay. In my talks, I always refer to the Trading with the Enemy Act, March 9th, 1933, where it's really called the Emergency Banking Relief Act that amended the 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act and what happens after that. Now, my belief that this plays a very important role in what's going on today because we are under military occupation. We are under martial law. I know that, whether it's David, Anna, Kurt, Kallenbach, Neil, Kelby, no one seems to ever talk about this. And I don't know if that's because they don't know or they're just not sure of the subject. But even the private American citizens, let's say you even do something status with another person, you're still under military occupation. And there are rules to a military occupation that you have to understand what's going on. So it isn't just U.S. citizens that are considered enemies, rebels, belligerents, and enemies of the states. Also, the private persons are also. So you need to know how to navigate this martial law system or military occupation system. So I'm going to try to go over that in a greater detail than I believe I ever have in the past. So I'll just get to it at that point.
Before we begin,
yeah,
real quick, when you're talking about military occupation and military government, are we talking about the United States Armed Forces, or are we talking about something beyond that, like the military-industrial complex, which could be more global based?
Okay, that's a great question. What I'm talking about is Article 2 power. Under the Constitution, there's 3 different powers. Article 1, legislative. Article 2, executive, commander-in-chief. And Article 3, judiciary. I'm talking about us being under Article 2, executive power, especially in the court system where we should be under Article 3, judiciary. But the courts are under Article 2 power. Everything is being run by Article 2 at this point in the game. In
And that
Article
would put,
2, I'm sorry, Article 2, actually think of it as the sea jurisdiction. It's a territorial jurisdiction. It's not the constitutional land where you have the a Bill of Rights and all that kind of stuff. So
that
you're
was
under a different jurisdiction.
that was what I was going to ask would this be what would put us in theory under what we consider to be maritime admiralty or
Statutory, Roman civil law, it's all the same.
okay.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right.
That you got to understand, even the private citizens are. So you still got to understand how your remedy or where is your remedy, even inside the military occupation. Okay.
Okay.
So 1973, this is on the congressional record. Okay. Senator Frank Church, quote, the United States has been in such a state of declared national emergency since March 3rd, 1933. A majority of people of the United States have lived all their lives under the emergency rule. Okay. When a citizen is governed by military power, he's not governed by the soldier's code. So don't think of this as like troops in the street, all that kind of stuff. You can still be under military law by executive position. All right. So hang on one sec. Um, the zip codes are military venues. That's why they put them in there. So putting zip codes down as an address can actually put you under the military occupation. Okay. The time zones, how they change. That's another military doctrine. Okay. Daylight savings times. That's another way to get everybody under their jurisdiction.
Is the post office under the military jurisdiction?
Yes. Right now, absolutely.
But I mean, was it created under military jurisdiction?
Not normally, but the military is controlling it now.
Okay. I mean, I also didn't want people who were possibly part of the quantum grammar community to find any legitimacy in the fact that RGG claims to be the postmaster general, and that's not a military position. I just wanted to clarify that
Right.
while we had a moment.
Well, again, you've got the United States Postal Service, USPS, is under military right now. United States Post Office side of the post office is under the Republic because that's got private mail and can do certain things under a different jurisdiction.
Okay.
So both things, like the Matrix, are going on at the same time.
I
Okay.
get
You
you.
have
Okay.
two different jurisdictions. Which one are you in? Which one are you a party to? You can go back and forth. You can use either one, but you can't be in both at the same time. You can only be in one or the other. Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. So martial law has both civil and criminal jurisdiction. Only under military law does Congress, under the Constitution, have the statutory authority to combine equity and maritime admiralty law. So in the court system since 1938, that's what's going on. You had a merger of equity, which used to be common law. They outlawed common law in 1938. So it's really found under equity and the statutory maritime admiralty are all into one. And the equity side that is available to the private citizen is hidden. It's there. You can't see it, but it's operating at the same time. Again, this is you're at war. They don't have to tell you. It's a secret. Okay, you don't tell what's going on to your enemies.
And that makes a lot of sense. In 1938, you mentioned outlawing common law. Where do you get this information?
I got the two cases, and we're going to do it
Okay,
today.
cool.
Okay, I'll
Because
show you exactly.
I like to see things backed up, and I love
Well,
the
how would
fact
you
that
like two U.S. Supreme Court cases to back that up?
I like that. That sounds
That's
very
what I
good.
figured. All right. Headline news in the American Journal Society, 1996. That wasn't that long ago. Quote, judge admits to War Powers Court on the front page of the May 7th, 1996 edition. A municipal court judge, Carol Wardell, in a traffic case, the defendant refused to enter the bar unless she removed the flag. You know how that patriot stuff goes, right? That I'm not crossing the bar into that jurisdiction with that flag because that's
Right.
military occupation. Judge Wardell stated for the record that she will not protect his rights under the War Powers Act of March 9th, 1933, and she would not change the flag in her courtroom. Now, if you look in any courtroom today, you'll see the American flag surrounded by gold fringe. And here's the other thing you got to look for is the eagle is on the top of the pole, the phoenix. That's the sign of the executive to presidential power. Okay, they're Article 1 courts being run by Article 2. Article 2 is running the courts today. And that's why when you go in there and try to get Article 3, your constitutional rights, they'll tell you that doesn't apply and there's no such thing here. Okay, because you're in the wrong place. So, military government is that which is established by a commander over occupied enemy territory. The people are generally left unmolested in ordinary domestic and business relations. That's why nobody can really see right in front of their face what's going on. Under Constitution, our own Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, and the law of necessity, one of the absolute international rights of the states is self-preservation. One of these powers is to institute military government. Under the American Constitution, Admiralty Maritime is a civil jurisdiction and can be regulated under a military venue. Admiralty courts are merely civil in nature, not criminal, and portions of the Bill of Rights do not apply in Admiralty courts. So this is why, again, when somebody goes in there and says, I want my constitutional rights, they're not there and they're not recognized there. Okay, you're in the wrong jurisdiction. You're in Article 2 jurisdiction. You need to be in Article 3 jurisdiction to have your constitutional rights. There you go. There's the flag right there. Okay, anytime the gold fringe, Army regulation, I can't remember the page number. And again, I was in the military, so I know this thing. Army regulations state anytime there's gold fringe around the flag means your country is being military occupied. That's what that means. Okay. Now, if you watch what happens when the president, say the president goes off into Europe or talks in France and the American flags are behind him, guess what? The gold fringe isn't there. So pay attention to things like this. It's telling you something. Okay. When he's in the United States, when he's in the House of Congress, those flags behind him will have the gold fringe. But when he's in another country, that gold fringe on the flag disappears. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I thought I was muted.
Secondarily, occupants are treated as rebels, belligerents, and enemies of the state. The commander has the right to seize property. Ding, ding, ding. Every state of Illinois, state of Tennessee, state of Florida is de facto conquered territory. It has to be a territory in order for the executive to have power over it. So somehow they had to change the states into territories. Okay, we'll get into that later as we talk about this. Okay. The commander has the right to seize property. Under the Constitution, there are three kinds of military jurisdiction: one exercised in peace, one in foreign war or time of rebellion, and one in time of invasion. And I refer to the FDR speech as inauguration speech. I want Congress to give me broad executive power as if we were at war. Now, I happen to have a 2-minute clip.
And it is to be hoped that the normal balance of executive and legislative authority may be wholly equal, wholly adequate to meet the unprecedented task before us. But it may be that an unprecedented demand and need for undelayed action may call for temporary departure from that normal balance of public procedure. I am prepared, under my constitutional duty, to recommend the measures that a stricken nation in the midst of a stricken world may require. These measures, or such other measures as the Congress may build out of its experience and wisdom, I shall seek within my constitutional authority to bring to speedy adoption. But in the event that the Congress shall fail to take one of these two courses, in the event that the national emergency is still critical, I shall not evade the clear course of duty that will then confront me. I shall ask the Congress for the one remaining instrument to meet the crisis: broad executive power to wage a war against the emergency as great as the power that would be given to me if we were in fact invaded by a foreign foe.
Towards the end of his speech, what he says is, because of this national emergency, I need Congress to give me this special power that's needed in this emergency. I need Congress to give me broad executive power. And how he got that broad executive power was the Emergency Banking Relief Act of March 9th, 1933, that amended the 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act. And again, I'll get into the specifics, but he asked for it and he got it. Congress had to give it to him. This is not just an executive order. Okay, Congress gave him the power. It's called Proclamation 2040. And I'll say it now and I'll say it later. The only way to reverse and get out of this military occupation is have a president of the United States has to rescind Proclamation 2040. So everybody that thinks Trump is the savior, you got to ask yourself, why didn't he rescind 2040? Because
Yeah,
we would have gone right back to the Republic and everything would have been changed.
I was going to say that that was the one thing that you had mentioned to me in the past several times that Trump could have done to help restore the Republic if that was, in fact, the intentions of Trump.
Yep. Yep. So why didn't he? I'm not going to go
Well,
into the diatribe, but I'm just saying he had the ability to do it.
you have two wings, a left, a right, and they're both attached to the same bird. So left
Yes.
wing, right wing, same
Right.
bird. There's your answer.
I call it. There's only one party in D.C., the party of big government.
Yeah.
Yes, it's got a right wing and a left wing, but it's still one party.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. A victorious army seizes all public money. This is the biggest event. The biggest repercussions of the event is when they took away the gold-backed lawful money. Okay. When they brought in the FRNs, you might as well call it monopoly money. Okay. Because without lawful money, the legal title to assets don't move. Okay. So what the government was doing when they did this, take away the money, the real money, then all property has to be put in a trust. Okay. And we've gone over the trust stuff before, and I don't want to get too much into it, but that allows the government to hold legal title to the asset, but everyone else gets use and possession of the asset. You get use and possession of your house, right? But it's not your house. Legally, it belongs to the government. You get use and possession of your car, but guess what? Legally, it's not your car. It's their car because they can tell you got to have plates, you got to have it registered, and got to have insurance.
Right.
Okay. So when everything is put into trust, it's all because they took away the lawful money. You might as well call the FRNs a military script. It's the military's money. And then there's, of course, a fee for using their money. But again, it's a control issue. Okay. So they can get all of the revenue and stuff from using it. Okay.
I've used a military script reference before as well because military scripts is literally just monopoly money. It's just
yes. I want people to think of it as monopoly money.
They'll change the colors of it up.
Yep.
I mean, I've put it up. I'll put an image up. I'll add into the video edit of this where you can see comparisons of the United States dollar with a modern dollar compared to monopoly money because it has the same color schemes on each bill. And the fact that they're both basically the same thing. And the only difference between those two pieces of paper being a US dollar and a monopoly note or a bill is that you believe one actually has value and one doesn't.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. It's deception at its best. And again, all commerce is war and all war is commerce. We are at war.
Right.
All right. All right. So the government, it seizes all public property until the occupation is over and sequesters for its own benefit in all revenues of real property belonging to the hostile nation. This is how they, quote, steal everything, steal the value from us. The title to such real property is held in trust, which I just said, during military occupation until the occupation is over. Only the POTUS can rescind the proclamation. The commander-in-chief rules the country with supreme power under Article 2. This is why the gold fringe, we kind of went over that before. One object of a military government is to put its great seal on things like, if you look on the back of a $1 bill, you'll see the presidential, federal, POTUS, executive 2 power symbol. You see it on the top of the flagpole. You see it on the back of the dollar bill. That's telling you that we're in control.
The eagle symbol.
Yeah.
This one right here.
That's it right there. That's that. Go look at what the presidential seal looks like and compare that to what that looks like.
Yeah, and then the other
It's
one is
telling
your,
you,
and
Article
your other
2,
one is your nice little
right?
pyramid
You're
with
under
that all seeing eye.
presidential supreme power. And again, the money's in a trust because, I mean, it's telling you that they're controlling the purchasing power, not you or me. We have no power over it. All we get to do is use the money we're given. But they're doing it right in front of our faces. They're changing the value of the money every week, every month now, right?
The
It's just
silver
being worth less
certificate,
and less. What?
the silver certificate has the same symbolisms on the back. This particular silver certificate.
What date is on there?
It's not a Kennedy one.
Okay.
I need to get my glasses.
Okay.
I'll get them here during the conversation.
All right. So let's move on. Now, to go on to the next page, just go on to the next page. I have to pay tribute where it is due. A guy by the name of Eric John Phelps, pastor in Pennsylvania, is really the guy that every single person in this country that wants to get free, that's who you need to thank. He's the guy that did 30 years of research and figured this whole citizenship status thing out. That's, of course, one of the guys I learned from. And that's the guy that all of this information I'm going to give you today comes from his 30 years of research. He's the one that figured out the secret to getting out from under their control is to change your political status. Everyone else had figured out the private trust stuff, but they were still landing. A lot of people were still going to jail for a variety of issues. But once you get this political status thing changed, it frees you from under the jurisdiction. And if they can't get jurisdiction on you, they can't put you in jail. Okay.
Who did
Go
you
ahead.
say? Eric who?
Eric John Phelps.
Eric John Phelps.
Jon, not John. Phelps. His website, I believe, is called VaticanAssassins.org.
Wow.
He's the guy you need to sit down and say thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate you giving credit to somebody.
Ever since 2015, and then he started teaching everybody, and he taught me, and now I teach. That's the guy. That's the guy that really has set us free.
That's awesome.
Yeah, now he came up with some paperwork. He calls it the 7 transitions. So I'm going to go over those 7 transitions. I've never done this before. And again, I think it's about time somebody laid tribute to him. And so we can discuss everything that he went over. Okay. I learned this 7, 8 years ago, and it has really helped me. It is complicated. That's probably another reason why I've never gone over it, but I'm going to try to do it today. Okay.
That sounds good. Now, is that all right here on the sheet?
It's all in the sheets I gave you. Yeah.
Okay.
The 7 transitions.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
Yes. And I've marked them to the left. You know, this is the number. So the first transition is basically the 14th Amendment of 1868. So citizenship originally was conferred by Article 4, Section 2 under the Constitution. Okay. That's your Union State citizenship, or also called an American national. That's a synonym. And fully described in the pristine Dred Scott decision of 1856. Okay, so what happens in 1868 under the 14th is they take the Union State citizenship that's described under Article 4, Section 2, and in their papers you'll read they say they're going to broaden it and enlarge it. They're going to take that original de jure republic citizenship and they're going to make it larger to include all blacks, Asians, and people, and they're going to call it, instead of a Union State citizenship, they're going to call it citizenship of the United States. Okay, so citizenship is now to be national opposed to the former federal. Broadened and enlarged, citizenship creates in substance a new republic. The new republic is a centralized Roman republic waiting for the imposition of the temporary military government that comes in 1933 that we're going to talk about.
Right.
The broadened de jure citizenship is now national. Again, think of it, it was Union. Now it goes national, not federal as it was in the initial American citizenship per Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution of the United States. So before I go on, let me say this. So they make a new citizenship. What if you read the Supreme Court cases like I have, what you have is you still have your Union State citizenship, but now you have another one called the citizenship of the United States. You have 2. And I'm going to get in again. I remember we went into the court case with the Austin Gary Cooper case before. The judge admits there's 2 citizenships. So you have the ability, because this is all volunteer system, you can claim one or the other. Okay. When you claim one, it has certain rights. If you claim the other citizenship, you might not get the same rights as the other one. Okay. So when these certain cases that we're going to go over, the slaughterhouse cases, when people went in after 1868 and claimed they were a citizen of the United States and they were been denied due process under the 14th Amendment, that put them in a whole different category in rights, which we'll go over. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you that they created a second citizenship. Okay, and it's up to you, even to this day, to declare which one you want to be. Okay, you have the choice. All right, and they always ask you. They never determine what you are. They're always asking you to check a box. Which one are you? So you're volunteering to be one or the other.
That would be, I guess, manufactured consent.
Yep. If that voter registration says, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" and you checked it, what did you just say? Okay, I'm going to be a party to that thing. I consent. I voluntarily did it. Now the repercussions of what that, and because it's a trust agreement, they don't have to tell you the details of the agreement. But the point is, you volunteered for it, and that's the operation of law. That's where they stick you. Hey, but you said you were, so that's why we can come after you, because you're the one that told us you were under our jurisdiction. Okay.
Right.
All right. So this broadened de jure national citizenship being paramount and dominant. That's the other phrase they used while they were writing this. State citizenship being subordinate and derivative. So they're saying that the upper one is the citizen of the United States, but the lower one is the Union. But the point still being that I keep trying to make is you have a choice to declare which one you want to be. Okay, just like you get a choice to go down and sign up whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent. It's up to you to volunteer which one you want to be. So the new republic of the United States of America reigns a de jure republic in form, but is de facto in substance. It is waiting for the imposition of the de facto emergency war powers military government to oust the true de jure Republican civilian government. And again, that happens on March 9th, 1933. All right, the second transition, the slaughterhouse cases, 1873. Let me see if I'll go into it. Supreme Court privileges and immunities of the new 14th Amendment, American citizenship, do not include fundamental rights, do not include common law rights, and later do not include the first Bill of Rights. So, and within 5 years after the 14th Amendment, slaughterhouse, I think I've gone over the case before, but there's this butchers union in New Orleans that are being told they can no longer work inside the city. They have to be outside. So they sue. They lose all the court cases. They go up to the Supreme Court case. And the Supreme Court says, hey, I'm sorry. If you're a citizen of the United States, you have no Bill of Rights. You lose. Okay. They can tell you what to do, whatever you want. So you see how these things matter. Okay. Just like today, they were going into court saying, I thought I was under the Constitution. Well, no, the Supreme Court is telling you you're not if your claim is you're a citizen of the United States. Okay. And that's why there's 5 slaughterhouse cases. And this is why they keep going back to court and they keep trying to win. And the court keeps telling them, I'm sorry, the Bill of Rights don't apply to you. Okay. I mean, I don't know how much clearer you can make that when you're at the Supreme Court, when somebody should open their eyes and go, what do you mean it doesn't apply? What's going on here? Okay. So this is why it's always good to go back and read the history.
Yeah.
The third transition, number 3. All right. Pursuant to the design of the Jesuit order, the Counter-Reformation plot to overthrow all limited governments of Western civilization born out of the Protestant Reformation. Now, I went over this before about the Treaty of Trent and Treaty of Verona. They actually say in their words that they have to destroy this representative government that they got going on in the United States of America because it's a direct threat to the monarchy and a direct threat to us. So they're trying to do everything they can to quash and obfuscate or insurrect, get rid of the representative government that our founding fathers put forth for us. The Vatican, I'm going to say the order, but the Vatican realized Congress had only constitutional limited powers to legislate over the private American citizens living in the states. The order also knew that Congress had constitutionally unlimited powers to legislate over the inhabitants living in the territories, like the DC, Guam, Puerto Rico. Those are the territories at the time. And that's, in a famous case called Downs versus Bidwell in 1901. I'm just going to the highlighted areas. Then why not plot to reduce the states to mere conquered territories to be temporarily ruled by an emergency war powers military government while simultaneously conferring a new corporate business styled public U.S. citizenship on the once private American citizen. So again, they realized back in the 1870s that they have all the power they need over DC, but they don't have the power over the Union states. So this thing has to be is how can we get control of the people in the Union states? Because right now we don't have it. We only have power over the people in DC, the citizens in DC, and the people that work in DC, the federal employees. So the 14th Amendment is one of the first stages. And then they later, again, knowing these people, this was all put into works, all planned, that we're going to do all of this later. And that's what they do in 33 is they take over, they turn the states into conquered territories. Thus, once it becomes a territory, now it's under the legislative Article 1 and 2 jurisdiction. Okay? So the people then to be ruled by legislative absolutism of Congress in its myriad of statutes to be enforced by the courts, federal and state, sitting in executive Roman equity. Again, they're courts that are created by Article 1, but they're being run by Article 2, executive power. The military conqueror commander in chief. Remember, the seal of the executive office of the president is the same seal for every federal district court. The same great seal placed on the $1 bill, commemorating the imposition of the New World Order at that time, the seal of the commander in chief. This plot was set on course with the public filing of a certificate of live birth on a state level. Certificates, incorporated the new U.S. citizen into the United States under temporary military occupation. And again, we'll get to this. We'll get to the 33 thing, but there's a couple more things we got to do before we get there. So one of the things, of course, is about the birth certificate. The whole last episode I did on everything you wanted to know about the birth certificate. So they originally come in around 1906, early 1900s, and they went to the federal ladies that were employees and they said, hey, look, if you record your birth, we're going to give you 2 weeks off of work. Oh, who wouldn't sign up for that, right? But so what they did was they snuck it in going, well, we're just going to record it, okay? But that recording of the birth later turns into the registration of the birth. And there's the key word of registration, means that you're entering into a trust agreement and you're giving up legal title to something. So again, you see how it takes 25 years of getting people used to recording their birth certificates, just like we got used to using real money. Then they switch it to something bad. So it's the boiling of the frog thing. They slowly introduce something and then whack, they change it without you even realize they've changed something. But something dramatic has really happened. Okay.
Very strategic, though, and it makes
Very
sense.
strategic. Because if you move too fast, people don't like change.
Unless, you have something that happens to take place like we experienced in 2020 that forces people into change abruptly as well.
Yes.
So there's a combination of things, but yeah.
Yes. All right. So the open but false purpose is to merely record the birth of the babies. The secret but true purpose is to act as a unilateral contract of adhesion under seal, operation of law, each creating a statutory artificial person, the straw man, which is called the corporate sole public U.S. citizen with an all caps name of war, nom de guerre. Okay. Let me give you the legal definition of a corporate sole because that's what the straw man is. A legal entity consisting of a single incorporated office occupied by a single natural person, a corporation of one. Okay, it's an artificial entity, but it's being occupied and run by a natural person. That's the true definition of a straw man. Okay, I wrote it down there because I think it's that important. Okay, and then why did they do that? Well, guess what? Under the 16th Amendment, corporations can be taxed constitutionally. Okay, so they can constitutionally tax your straw man. But the point is, if you've agreed to be liable for him, then you think they're taxing you, but they're not. They're really taxing the corporation.
To make another point, looking at your writing, your handwriting there, it definitely shows that you are a doctor, Dr. KL.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I can read it, and I'm sure most people can.
Just barely.
You said it, but it definitely looks
Yes,
like Dr. Scratch.
it is. But I'm actually one that you can usually read. People tell me I write well for a doctor. But
I can
anyway,
read it, but yeah, I
yes.
just had to I wanted to add that little piece of entertainment in there.
Okay. So the 14th Amendment, individual, private American citizen. So before the 14th Amendment, I should say before 1933, the 14th Amendment citizen of the United States is a private citizen. But after 33, he becomes a public citizen. Okay. So there's a little confusion in there that people think, oh, Jesus Christ, that 14th Amendment, that's bad. That makes me bad. Well, actually, it's good. You just got to know that it actually changed after 1933. Before 1933, it's okay to say you're a citizen of the United States. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
Okay. I know it's confusing, but
No, yeah, but
we'll
I
go
get what
on.
you're saying.
Okay. So that 14th Amendment private citizen will, in 1933, consent to silence to be subordinate surety. Surety means you agree to take on the debt or obligation of another. For and bonded to the state created public U.S. citizen, that's the straw man, by 1939, who will be a person, artificial person, required to file an income tax pursuant to the Internal Revenue Code. Again, the Internal Revenue Code can tax corporations. But if you agree that either you are the corporation or you're going to act for the corporation or you'll be liable for the corporation, then you're the one being taxed. Okay. Transition number 4, Emergency War Powers Proclamation, March 9th, 1933. And again, it was the Emergency Banking Relief Act that amended the Trading with the Enemy Act on March 9th, 1933. So their military due process of laws imposed by this act. So this is where the military occupation comes in. And just like today, oh my God, there's a national emergency. We're broke. I got to close the banks. We got to do all of this stuff. I'm going to ask Congress for some special power under the Constitution. We're going to pull. He doesn't say it, but what he's doing is bringing in a new government. He's taking away the real money. Everything's going to change. Okay, to include now I can create an FBI. I can create a CIA. I can create an FDA. You can do anything under statutory, right? Legislature. That's
Right.
not under the Constitution.
Anything beyond the original 19
Enumerated powers.
enumerated powers. I
But
couldn't.
because you're being under a different jurisdiction, you're under Article 2 and 1 and 2, it's perfectly constitutional to do it.
Well, it makes sense the way you explain it because I mean I've been questioning that for quite some time. I mean, even like the fact that we have taxation of labor and the creation of the IRS that seems to be unconstitutional per the Republic, but you're saying it's perfectly legal under the military status.
Yes.
But the military status part, the military occupation, us becoming enemies of the state kind of situation didn't take place until the 1930s, where the creation of the Federal Reserve was in the 1913s, where it's just,
Correct.
again, steps of how
Correct.
everything took place. Because before we started recording, we mentioned briefly some of this kind of started under Abraham Lincoln with the martial law. But
Yes.
that martial law ended up ending when Congress was reconvened, even though it was
Yes, but that's when they first did it.
unconstitutionally reconvened.
Right. When April 27th, 1863, sign a day, Lieber Code comes in because Congress walked out. Who's going to do the duties of the federal government? He appoints the U.S. military. Okay. And that's where actually they went around with those presidential courts. They called them, I think, presidential courts. And again, flagged with a gold fringe. They could go out and arrest all the rebels and belligerents after the war that still thought the war was going on. They were still under that occupation.
Right.
Okay. So they're doing the same thing now under emergency. All this, I'm sorry, shit happens when they keep fooling the people and thinking they have to do this because something really bad is going on. And of course, the emergency is they set it up in the first place.
Okay,
in order to get this control.
The other thing I want to get clarification on from your perspective, and I believe I know the answer, but I'm sure a lot of people are curious. The 1933 Trading with the Enemy Act, where we were kind of stated as enemies of the state.
Yes.
U.S.
citizens.
That has never been rescinded by FDR or any other president currently, correct?
Correct. Now, I got to mention this. So it's in perpetuity. Now, when it started with, I think, Johnson. Everybody started doing these national emergencies. I think Truman did it with the Korean War. Johnson did it with what do you call when
Well,
we were in Vietnam?
Trump did it with
Trump.
COVID.
They do it with the drugs. Everyone starts calling these national emergencies. Well, in 1976, Congress said, "What the hell is going on? We can't just keep having these." So automatically, every emergency has a 2-year limit. Okay, has to be renewed. Except we're going to make one exception to that. Guess what that exception is? 5B of Trading with the Enemy Act. So every
Interesting.
single national emergency has to be renewed or it dissipates, except for the March 9th, 1933 one.
Okay.
Okay. And I believe that was in 1976. You could look that up. I forgot the name of the act, but they addressed that issue. Congress did.
Well, thank you for clarifying. And this is also the same thing that you were mentioning that Trump could have undone with. Did you say it was Proclamation 2040?
2040.
Okay, I want to make
Okay.
sure I remembered it correctly without having to go back to the notes.
Yes. 2039 happens on Monday, March 6th. He closes the banks. That's when he declares the national emergency. But on Thursday, March 9th, the Emergency Banking Relief Act is passed in Congress that amends the Trading with the Enemy Act that changes everything.
And that also, to add, that is also the creation. That's when the gold confiscation of U.S. citizens took place, and also, like you said, the banking kind of reformation, the Banking Right Act. In addition to the creation of the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, and the creation of Social Security numbers.
Yes, everything. Social Security, gets everything. Everything happens after that. The
Right.
great deal, my ass. It's the great collective socialism takeover is what it was.
The great legal fiction deception, the great legal
Yes,
deception. I mean, I
everything.
call this whole series the great legal deception.
Yes,
So it makes sense.
yes.
The legal
So,
fiction matrix.
yes. Okay, so in personam jurisdiction is now obtained over the private American citizen, natural person, through the artificial public straw man, for which he is subordinate surety to and bonded, wedded, merged into one individual public U.S. citizen. The new statutory public status acts in conjunction with the statutory amended Trading with the Enemy Act, which confers military due process upon all constitutional civilian courts, federal and state. The artificial person statutory public U.S. citizen is attached to the natural person 14th Amendment private American citizen who unknowingly acts as the surety for the artificial person in which he is bonded into one hybrid individual U.S. citizen. Again, think about now when you check that box that says you're a U.S. citizen, what you're now volunteering to be. It's not you. It's a piece of paper. It's a corporate citizenship that says I will be liable in this jurisdiction. That's what you're saying when you check that box and you sign that piece of paper.
Yeah, it's like
You're
a
contracting.
representation
Yes.
of yourself.
You are
A
contracting with
representation.
a foreign government is what you're doing. Okay. This in persona military jurisdiction signing from the above emergency proclamation TWIA Act to be deceptively wielded over the individual Christian man, private American national citizen bound to his public U.S. citizen, a judicial secret, a legal fiction concealing the fact that private Americans' citizenship has undergone a change. Okay, only to be known to very few people and the court system, and they are sworn. The judges are that they cannot. This is like top secret information. They're not allowed to disclose this kind of stuff. I'm amazed that I read you that one article where the judge actually admitted in court, that we're under the War Powers Act of 1933. That's a huge deal to make that admission in open court.
Yeah, well, it might have been someone trying to slip something in, someone being fed up with the system and wanting to get something out on record in a way that it couldn't be hidden. So
Yes.
I believe, we've talked about this before and I've mentioned it. There's dualities and everything. So I feel as if there's going to be good guys as well. So
yes,
if as many bad judges as there are, there's going to be some that are working for the people.
yes, you have administrative law judges that only judge the statutes and codes. Were you speeding or not? They don't care about anything else.
Right.
Then you have Article 3 judges that are called trier of the facts, not trier of the law. They actually can decide what is just and fair. They're the only ones allowed to do trials, to do injunctions, to do mandamuses, to do foreclosures. Okay. And those judges are picked usually because they have a higher moral character that is needed for these special things, and especially in the courts of equity. Okay. So there are two different types of judges, and you are right. All right. The second legal fiction is that the government of the United States has undergone a change. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You know, there's a democracy and there's a republic. They're both going on here today at the same time. You see one, you don't see the other because it's hidden. But just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not there, and doesn't mean it's not accessible. You just don't know how to access it. And that's, you know, some of the stuff that I get into and do. It is Republican government in form, but military government in substance. The de jure Republican government of the United States is a creation of the core sovereign, we the people. According to the preamble, the de facto military government is a creation of both the Congress and the president. Remember what I keep saying, it's a combination of Article 1 and Article 2 that are running things, right? Okay, that Article 3 is where we, the natural republic people, want to be. We want to be have our enforcement in Article 3, because Article 1 and 2 really doesn't recognize us. It's kind of like a line. You know, we don't want to step over that line and get in their jurisdiction. We want our own jurisdiction where we're at. And God forbid we accidentally step into their line, over the line. Guess what happens? It's like stepping in doo doo. You're in big
Yeah.
trouble once you step
Yeah.
over the line. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, real quick, I just
So,
want to
yeah,
remind people that this information that you're talking about, going beyond these lessons, is stuff that you teach in the private. So it's not something you're going to find in these public videos. I always got to kind of like put that
correct.
information out there.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in learning directly from the man himself, I will include his email address down below in the video description. Again, do not contact KL for the documents. If you want copies of the documents, I've been putting information up. Email me. That's going to be below in the video description and pinned comment as well. But yeah, if you want to learn directly from the man, he does offer his services in the private.
Yes, because there is remedy even when you step into their sandbox. It's all about a trust law then, and then you got to claim your beneficiary status. You can't really claim your citizenship status. That doesn't count. That they can't recognize that over there. So
Right.
it gets back to I'm a beneficiary of these trusts that are going on, and that's why I'm entitled to these rights. So that's what I teach, and with paperwork, and we do, and with the government, is we can get remedy. Okay, even in the military occupied territories. But boy, it's complicated and tricky, and you really got to have everything in order and know what you're doing. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You
And right
can't
here,
just right. You just can't say I'm a state national, and that changes everything. I got news for you. It doesn't.
right. And this
You
is
try
just basic
right.
foundational knowledge. I mean,
Yes.
again, you can learn directly and get all the
Right.
information that you need, and it's not going to be available in any public forum.
Right. Because I'm the guy that they call when they go and say, I had to go to court, and I told them I was a state national, and I gave them my piece of paper, and they made me do a psych eval and threw me in jail for 3 days. I'm
Right.
like, well, what's that tell you?
Mr. Fixer
Maybe
Upper.
that's not working like it should.
The cleanup man.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's what happens. I get after it doesn't work, I'm the guy they call.
Isn't that
So
right,
anyway,
Lester?
it's just that's the way it is. I
We'll
can't
go,
do anything
man.
about it. All right. So
All right.
U.S. citizens were seized as booty of war, imposed on de facto military government, Emergency Bank and Relief Act, codified at 12 U.S.C. 95A. You can look it up. The Emergency Bank and Relief Act amended the World War I statute. Again, was never repealed. Known as Trading with the Enemy Act, codified in a U.S. code under 50 U.S.C. App 5B. That 5B paragraph is what I was telling you about. Is where they amended the act to include everyone within the United States, and I mean everyone, again, including natural citizens, private citizens, and U.S. citizens. Everyone is covered under the military occupation. So again, let me go on. I'll go on down farther. We the people have been reduced to an inferior grade and are now his subjects. He is the beneficiary. We the people are the trustees. He has use of the seized property. We the people have the duty to perform pursuant to the demand of his hundreds of executive orders and tens of thousands of congressional statutes. American citizens, again, being the sureties for their state-created U.S. citizens. All right. So again, in 33, the trust was created. They put all the publicly registered property in a trust. They gave us equitable title. They kept legal title. So again, we are under their control just through all of those trust agreements. Number 5, Social Security Act of 1935. Again, within 2 years, all of a sudden, social welfare, something that's not constitutional, starts coming into play. Why? Because Article 1 passed it, right? They don't need to ask the judiciary anymore. They just got to get it past the Article 1 and 2 courts. U.S. citizen is given a commercial quasi-corporate Social Security number. Every public U.S. citizen, the commercial vessel of the private American national citizen with which he is merged with as surety, is insured for engaging in interstate and foreign commerce, as are all corporations. So think of this as like the straw man is like a car. Okay. Your car has a VIN number attached to it, right? A specific vehicle identification number. It's 17 digits long and it pertains only to your car. Okay. Even if you have a Toyota Camry and there's 40 other thousand Toyota Camrys, every one of those VIN numbers are different, right?
Right.
So the straw man gets a number because it's an artificial thing, right? It has to be identified, so it's given a number. Okay. And when you sign up for Social Security, that's what turns the citizen of the United States into the U.S. citizen trust agreement.
It should be a
Okay.
social identification number.
Yes. Well, that's what they call it in everywhere else in Europe.
Yeah, and that's ironic. Yeah, it's called a SIN number. I didn't know if it was
Yes.
social identification. And here we call it in the United States a social security, because I don't think we would have done
Gone
very
for
well
it.
here
Right.
with having our SIN number.
Yes. Ask
Canadian
Canada, ask England. They all
Britons,
call
yeah,
them SIN numbers.
SIN
Yes.
number.
Yes.
It's ironic too that they use it like that, SIN number.
Again, they're telling you.
It's right in your face.
It's right in your face.
Why
Real
aren't you
people,
listening,
you
you
understand it.
goyim?
You understand if you put and branded a number on a person, that would be slavery and they would go to jail.
Right, but
But if they,
the legal form of slavery that they've done, utilizing the legal fiction and our monetary system in combination,
yes,
has made us slaves in a legal capacity,
yes,
not a lawful capacity. It's definitely
a
unlawful.
legal is different from lawful. But if they
Right.
put the number on the piece of paper, and here's the issue again, because you think the name is you say that's mine. Well, I got news for you. It's not yours. It's theirs. The federal government created the number. It's their number. You're just using the number. Okay. So quit saying it's your number. It's not yours. It's not your account.
Nope.
It's their account.
It's borrowed.
Okay. The only thing you can do is start claiming you're the beneficiary of those accounts. I'm just the user. And you know what that means? That means I'm not the liable party. Okay. Being the user, being the beneficiary means I can use it, but not be liable for it. Liability rests with the trustee. The trustee is the federal government. Talk to them about any liability issues. So do you see
that's why you're
how
Mr.
you have to start
Beneficiary.
claiming this trust stuff in their sandbox? So the liability goes that way, not on you. Stop volunteering to be liable. Okay.
Yeah, it's well said. Stop and
Just
stop consenting, stop volunteering.
stop. Right.
Just stop.
Right. Now there are ways to do it. Again, I can't get into that. That's a whole 6 more hours of my private teaching, but there's a way to do it. Okay. But I'm just telling you, stop. All right.
All right.
Transition 6. Here's your 2 cases. Okay. One's called the Erie Railroad case, and the second case is the Caroline Products case, both in 1938. This is where they outlaw basically common law on a federal level. Okay. And just by coincidence, all of a sudden in 1938, they come up with the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, a brand new set of rules for a brand new court. Because
just by coincidence.
By coincidence, they're not going to let you claim common law rights anymore in court. All right. So Swift versus Tyson overrules no more federal general common law of any type. The 7th Amendment is now moot. That's, by jury, there being no more suits at common law. The individuals are public U.S. citizens created by their sole corporation instruments, the certificates of live birth. The second case, the Caroline Products case, overruled again, no more common law rights protected by the Supreme Court. This is terrible, but this is what happens. The glorious Lochner era ends. The private American national citizen can no longer claim he has common law rights in federal court. Unknown to him, all is now privilege conferred through his principal, the all caps, the artificial public U.S. citizen is commerce for which he is mere surety. He is deemed an enemy and trustee in every case. Hence, when he cries out for common law rights to work or to be recognized, what does the court normally say? He has failed to state a claim upon relief can be granted. How often have you heard that one? A lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you can't go in there and claim, I want common law rights, whatever. It's not there. Okay. So forget about it. I know there's people out there saying, oh, you can invoke common law rights. No, you can't. Okay. About the only place you could do that would be in the Supreme Court. If you're standing in front of the Supreme Court, then you have the power to ask for that. But in their
And that's
courts,
from a 2008 case,
what?
what you just mentioned. Such was the case with this author
Oh,
in federal
actually,
court.
it's a 2018 U.S. versus Ortiz case.
Okay.
Okay. So again, there are present day cases which address these kinds of issues. But again, that gets to your knowledge of level of if you're the plaintiff, you go to the Supreme Court, which is what would happen. You have to put on the face sheet that that's what you want. That's the jurisdiction you want. You actually have the ability to ask for the jurisdiction you want. You don't have to take the default statutory maritime Roman civil law. You can actually say, hey, I want common law equity. Okay. I personally am trying to tell you that equity is better than common law. Equity is really, again, you can go in there as a beneficiary. I have all of these rights. I want what is fair and just. Common law is very strict. So if they can't find the solution for you under common law, you don't get one. But equity, you can get monetary damages. Okay, you can get them liable for a lot of things. I'm in a definite belief that equity is much better than common law. And the other thing that none of these other gurus seem to talk about is that when our founding fathers brought over the Constitution in the law form, it wasn't just common law. Look it up. What they brought over was common law and English equity. Okay.
Well,
equity
English
court,
common law and English equity, yeah, because if you go
yes.
to different nation, like there's a common law, like Spanish common law, which was slightly different from English common law because common law also differs per culture and region too.
Yes. But see, now they can call the common law the statutory law. Isn't that common?
Well,
We're
that's what
doing
they
common
call it.
law.
That's what they call it because they do
Yeah,
utilize the term
we're
common
doing.
law. They
Well,
say
that's
common
why.
law. When I ask an attorney or someone like that about what common law is, they basically say that when a case is heard and there's a precedent set on it, that's what we consider to be common law
Well, that's
because
statutory.
it's common to us.
Right, right. But that's not what you're looking for, is it?
Not
So,
in the sense of like when we talk about being on the
yes,
land,
yes,
air, water,
right.
reference to law.
That's why you got to go with the equity court. That's where you get your land rights. That's where you get your proper constitutional citizenship rights that you were born with. That's what you can claim. That's what you want to be saying. Not, I want common law. I'm just telling you, it's a dead end. That's just
And I
my
appreciate you
opinion.
sharing that.
My opinion. All right. The seventh transition. Proclamation 2914, December 16th, 1950. President Truman, Emergency War Powers Act. Government declares perpetual foreign war. De facto, Congress never declares war again, pursuant to its war-making power granted by the Constitution. All courts now, in substance, emergency war power courts of the conqueror, commander-in-chief, using military due process of law and handling criminal and civil actions within the Pope's American Empire, while it wages its domestic war on the enemy, we the people, in foreign wars for the benefit of Rome. So let's be honest here. After the Korean War has never been declared by our Congress, has it?
No, it seems to be
Vietnam,
directly
it was
done.
just been
No,
by the executive.
it's the president, but I think that they still had to get approval technically by the
After 90
Congress.
days. But see, again, but it changed.
Yeah,
Before, we never could go in without the first approval of the representatives because
of the
it had to
people.
come from the people.
Right, because they were supposed to be representatives of the people,
Yes,
making it a government of, for, and by the people. Yeah,
right, right. So,
we've been swindled.
a different form of government is going on under your nose. You have to start seeing something's not right, which I think most people get that feeling, okay, that something's not right, especially after the COVID lockdowns and the mandatory this and that crap. I think, to me, the amount of people that are waking up is like tenfold skyrocketed. And again, it's only because they're moving so fast that they're doing stuff that they just can't explain or sell to the American people that they're buying. Now, do some people buy it? Yes. But the majority of people is now finally saying, hey, what the hell's going on here? He doesn't have the
Right.
right to do that. Where'd that come from? Okay. And if you notice, Biden and Pritzker and Newsom, all the governors got overruled in court on those mandates every single time, every single one of them. Now, it took a year to get into court and to get those undone. But the point being is not, they didn't win one case. The people won every case because the courts, even in the military courts, said, you know what? You don't have the authority to mandate this stuff. The legislature, it has to come through the people. You cannot executive dictate to the people. So I'm telling you again, it's there. You might not see it, but what was that lady's name?
Well, during
Reagan's
that time
wife.
period too, during that time period, every single state in the United States declared a state of emergency, which put federal state of emergency as well, which really could have put us under the jurisdiction
Yes.
of the FEMAs. I got to be careful with some of the wordings I'm using because I don't want to have any takedowns of the video, but
Right.
the FE to the MAs.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but
But
I think that if the state's declared a state of emergency, that gives the governor the ability to make those kind of declarations or
okay. So
statutes, but then the courts can and will, if it's unconstitutional or not deemed correct, the courts can undo the
yes.
power of a president, a governor, your
Yes.
local mayor, whatever it
Right.
might be.
So let me give you an example. At that time, I was in Illinois. Pritzker ruled the emergency, which under the law, the present law at that time, he could do for 30 days. And that was it. He extended it to a year and a half. And that's when people started taking him to court that he went over his authority, which the court agreed with. So, yes, there are certain things in place, but it's always on a temporary, provisional dictate. And the thing in 1933, guess what? That was sold to the people as it's temporary, provisional until the emergency is over. Okay. The only problem is we're in the 89th year of that emergency.
Right.
Okay.
It's a long ass emergency.
Yes. But it tells you that if it's temporary, it's not permanent, it can be undone. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it. It's not. I wish Congress could do it. Well, again, they can get bought off. It's going to take a president or the people to revolt. I don't know, but it's just. I'm just trying to give you the legal and the lawful remedies here. Okay?
Well, I mean, before we continue, to add in what I always like to say and love to manifest, and is when enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people.
Absolutely. It
So we just
just
need to get to that point,
civil disobedience. You'd be amazed at how well that works.
right?
Because when they don't have the numbers, then they throw their hands up and go, "Okay, we give." That's all it takes is for them to know they don't have the numbers, they don't have the majority. It doesn't take everybody to do it. It takes a small few to start. Okay. And another person I would commend is the lady in Texas who was the beauty shop owner who said, I'm not putting up with this. I'm staying open. I got to feed my family. Well, guess what happened? She was arrested, put in jail. Well, you know what? People donated. She got $250,000 for legal defense. She went to court. She won. She got to keep her salon open. Okay. But because she won, all of a sudden, other shop owners go, you know what? I'm not going to close my doors either. So just one person snowballed into the guy in New Jersey. Then the what do you call it? The gymnasium guy in California did it. And once that got on track, and again, it takes time to get that snowball rolling, it worked.
Well, that's why I say, KL, if you individually, each and every one of us, be's the change that we want to see in the world, we can have this effect that you're talking about.
Absolutely. And it just takes a few to get started for the
And
rest of
everybody,
the
yeah,
people. Yes.
everybody can
A
have
difference.
can have an effect. Everybody. It
Absolutely.
starts with an idea and action and one individual, and then all it does is other people get influenced by that and take those actions on, and it
Yes.
becomes a movement.
Right. And I think both of us are trying to do our share of that. We're trying to get more people to think, to understand,
Yeah.
to face this. And if you want to make a decision, we're not here trying to tell you you have to and you got to believe what we believe, but we're trying to give you information. We're trying to let you know that you have the power. You can change. You can get things changed. You really can. Okay.
I love it, my friend. Okay, well, let's go ahead and continue on. Where do we leave off?
I'm at the last page of the solutions if you want to go over that kind of thing. I've done the
Oh yeah.
transition 7. Yeah.
So this is it.
Yeah.
There's no
So,
more. Oh, it's the end. I know we still got plenty of time to hear to talk, but
well, yeah, we can still talk about
solutions
stuff.
are a beautiful thing. But again, I just want to also remind people what they see on screen isn't your be all end all solution.
Oh,
And this
no,
is going to
no.
be all your answers right here. So
This
again,
is a generalization of an understanding of what to get started with.
okay.
Okay. For instance, you have to declare your political status. And there's 2 other people that follow this, we declare ourselves as a pre-March 9th, 1933 private American national. Why do we use that date? I think you get the picture now why I say I'm a citizen before all of that national emergency happened and before that military occupation happened, because before that I'm covered as under the land jurisdiction.
Right.
You
Before
see,
that trickery.
right. Now, if you want to claim, you go back to 1789, 1861, it doesn't matter, but you've got to go back and say, I'm making my claim before that happened. Okay. That's why.
Well, you talk about status correction. I mean, part of
Yes.
that in those 2 words, you have correction. And this would be part of your correcting.
Yes. Yes. But again, what does everybody else do? And they're just running around saying, I'm a state national.
Right. And
Well,
just
that's fine.
waving
But what
around
does
the
that
pieces of
mean?
paper.
What's that mean? Yeah. Okay.
What does that mean?
Yes. Rescind all signatures as surety from the government contracts. I think we've gone over this in other things that, like your passport, where you checked, I'm a U.S. citizen, your driver's license, when you sign up, I'm a U.S. citizen, your bank accounts, the TSA pre check, any application you checked, I'm a U.S. citizen box meant when you were applying for those benefits, you were saying, I'm under your jurisdiction. Okay. And I put in there, remember the U.S. Supreme Court, Hale versus Henkel, that we went over on the first one, the Great Deception. The court ruled, quote, the right of an individuals are restricted only to the extent that they have been surrendered by the citizenship to the agencies of government. It's telling you, okay, only to the extent that they have been surrendered by the citizenship to the agencies of the government. When you contract, you can be given up your rights. Okay. No one's taking them away from you. You're waiving them. They're using the word surrender. I'm just trying to get you to understand that no one can take your unalienable rights away from you. You can't even give them away. The only thing that can happen is you can waive them or surrender them under contract. So you have to change these contracts that you have with these government agencies. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So it isn't just declaring you're this. You have to undo these contractual agreements, because if you're on one hand saying, I'm over here on the state national, but I'm going to go ahead and vote and I'm going to go through the TSA pre-check, I'm saying I'm a US citizen, they're going to look at that and go, well, you're talking out of both sides of your ass. Okay. We're not gonna accept this because your actions are doing this. Your actions say you're under our jurisdiction. You're claiming you're not. Why the hell should we even pay attention to your paperwork? You see the problem. If you
Yeah.
don't undo the contracts, you're not. You might think you are, but I'm telling you, you're not.
Right.
Okay, that's the sad realization. All right, so number 3, to play the game of Monopoly, the game of commerce. Everything is artificial in the game of commerce. They created an artificial entity so you could play the game. Okay. But because they created it, they control it. He who creates controls. So nobody said it's against the rules that you could create your own entity that you can control in commerce. And that's another part that I teach, is that you can create this artificial entity to get earnings, to work for corporations, to have bank accounts, have credit cards. You can do all of these things that you're used to doing, but you do it from a distance of, it's my artificial entity doing, not me. So that keeps me in the private in my land jurisdiction. My entity is in their C jurisdiction, but because it's a private trust, all disputes have to be settled in the court of equity. So I'm kind of covered by claiming beneficiary status in their jurisdiction.
Okay.
Okay. Has to be done with a trust, though. All right. Number 4, if you obtain a DBA, others call it an assumed name, trade name, fictitious name at your local county or Secretary of State's office. This registers the all caps name as a business. The all caps name is not you. I can't say that enough. Your name is not you. It's your property. It's a title. It's a trust. Every time you say it is you, you're agreeing to be the surety. You're agreeing to be liable for that thing. It's a thing. Okay. You were supposed to do this when you turned 18. Now, the reason I say this is an easy thing that even anybody can do is when you do this kind of a thing, now you have standing in their court. Now you can state a claim upon relief can be granted. You have permission to be heard in their court system because now you have a piece of paper from the government that says that name is a business entity, and is not you. Okay. I don't know if you see the difference.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to add just a DBA is also doing business as,
right.
so people understand what that means. And
And
we talked about that on the not lesson 1 and 2 in this series, but we talked about that in the past. And I do have a playlist for those videos in a video description. And if you haven't watched all the videos I've done with KL, check out the playlist, please.
Right. My perspective is the concept of them of getting a piece of paper they recognize that that name is not you. So if you were to get a ticket and they put the ticket in the name of the straw man, if you could produce evidence into the court case that, hey, that's a business, that's not me, why should I pay? I'm not the liable party here. You see how something like that can help in their system. It's a piece of paper they have to accept that that name is not you, kind of a thing.
Right.
Okay.
And this is just part of what you teach
Part of
privately
many
about
things, right? And don't
about
go out
creating your own monopoly piece so
and
that
run
you can
around and
play
just
the
try to
game.
do this. Yeah, just be careful. You want some help, contact me. But I'm just trying to give you an example of how to navigate the commercial world without having the liability attached to yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, question, are you done going over all those
Yes.
solutions for 4? Okay.
Yes.
So the question that I would have for you is, when it comes to, and you don't have, if there's, when you answer this, if it's too much to give away in a public forum, I completely understand, and you can just say that. But getting rid or putting aside your monopoly piece that was gifted to you by our luscious, great, generous government.
The correct word is granted to you.
Granted. Okay.
Because
And then,
grant means you're in a trust.
so you would basically enter exchange between those 2 game pieces, the one that was granted to you and the one that you created, or are you only going to play the game with the one that you created once you've created your own monopoly piece?
Okay. Think of it like
Does
this.
that make sense?
Yes, you have 2 different game pieces, but you can only use one. Okay.
You can only use one at a time. So are you
One at a
switching
time.
between game pieces?
You could, but you don't want to.
So you just take your newly
get rid of
created game piece and make that your primary
Yes. You want to get rid of
character
the
for
straw
your
man game piece.
primary monopoly token character. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Because if you ever use it, you're taking the benefit, and in trust law, if you accept the benefit, you accept the liability. Okay, so
So
you don't
it
want
would literally be like when you have your Monopoly game, you have these choices. You have like the horse, the hat, and
right.
then and the little dog, instead of choosing between the ones the game gives you, you end up saying, "No, this is going to be my game piece
Yeah,
now.
I'm
I'm going
gonna
to
pull the
use
piece
this."
out of my own pocket, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
play with that piece. And then here's, I know this sounds crazy, but you know what? If I take that and I land on boardwalk with your hotel, I'm not liable. I'm sorry. That's
Right,
my
because you're
game
Mr.
piece.
Beneficiary.
I'm not the liable party. Go talk to the trustee. I'm just sitting here. I'm using this space.
It's like Neo playing from the Matrix,
Yes,
playing the game Monopoly.
right. Quit volunteering to be the trustee, the liable party.
Quit
Quit saying,
consenting.
okay, I guess I'll pay. That must be me. That's
Don't
got my
consent.
name on it.
Don't participate.
Right.
Quit participating in
They're
the
giving
reindeer
you
games.
they're
Be like
giving you the out.
Rudolph.
Yeah.
We're right in the holiday season. We're recording this on December the 2nd. Be like Rudolph and stop playing the reindeer games.
Yes.
I like that. Is there any more to the lesson, my friend?
Not to this lesson. There's the other stuff I would highly recommend you listen to, the other two that we've done. And again, what they've done is we've gone over previous stuff, but in a more depth detail. When I have more time, I have more things I can put in there, more time to explain everything that's going on. And again, because I have more time, I think this was a good time to cover the Trading with the Enemy Act that I always mention. I always mention it in all of my talks, but this really gets to what happened with the 14th Amendment, which everyone thinks is bad, which I'm telling you is only half bad. But you have to know, because again, because I'm the guy that gets the stuff that doesn't work. Let me give you an example. When other people go and they claim to get a passport, no, I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. You know what happens? Passport kicks it back. Say, well, then you can't have one. And then they write you a letter, which I've seen the letter 50 times, that you are considered a section 14th Amendment Section 1 citizen of the United States. And then people go to me going, well, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. No, I'm not. And so I have to do this explanation. Yes, they are actually right. Okay. But if you keep claiming you're not, because only a citizen of the United States or a Union State citizen can have a U.S. passport. So if you're pre 1933 citizen of the United States, you can get a 4 or 5-star passport. But see, everyone's convinced it's always this black and white. Well, if it's the 14th Amendment, if you say the 14th Amendment, then you're locked in. Well, you're not. It's got to do with if it's pre or post 1933. And you've got to know what you're doing when you say these words. And in certain cases, it helps you. Certain times it can unhelp you. A citizen of the United States is not equal to a U.S. citizen. Two different legal entities.
Okay.
Okay. I
I
know
like
people
that.
think they're not the same thing. The U.S. citizen is the really bad, locks you into the debt, everything. Citizen of the United States, you can be when you're applying for a passport. I would never use it other than to say I'm a private citizen of the United States. Okay, so I want to be a private citizen even in their sandbox. That's what I'm saying when I use that phrase. I'm private, but I'm inside your box.
That
Okay.
sounds dirty, doctor. I'm private in your box.
Well, in your sandbox. I can't think of another phrase for
I just like to add.
jurisdiction.
I mean, this is a very educational topic that we're talking about, but I mean, it can get dry. So I like to add as
Yes,
much entertainment. And if somebody's going to give me an inch, I'm going to take it and I'm going to run with it. So,
no
you
problem.
dirty doctor with your bad handwriting.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I have one more question. Is there more lessons for us to go over publicly? Is there a lesson for that we can do?
I got to think of a subject that we really not touched on, or something we can go into more detail about. And again, in the first one, we go through the timeline of what happened since 1776 up to date. The second one was about the birth certificate, which to me is a huge thing because there's so many misconceptions about the birth certificate. This one, there's so many misconceptions about the 14th Amendment. No one ever, to my knowledge, is thinking about the military occupation part of it. So even if you think you're out of the system, you still got to understand what jurisdiction you're playing in. Okay. So it still makes a difference to understand this stuff.
I
If
was
you
just
want
doing a
remedy.
screen share with the playlist that's on Rice Against the Grain, and then I'll have the playlist from Rice TVX, which has the
Yes.
all the previous lessons. Again, I really appreciate your time. Being that we are at the beginning of December and we got holidays coming up, I'm going to be very respectful of your time. I won't bug you in regards to coming back on until early 2023.
That'd be good.
I definitely want to talk with you more privately, but and I appreciate some of the information that you've been providing me lately that I'm going to be doing a video on that I won't mention
Right.
much
Well, we
about
can't
now.
say today, but yeah, we could be discussing that in the future also.
Yeah, I would like to maybe, even if you put together enough for us to do another lesson, that would be great. But I would like to also take one episode where we can try to answer questions. So if people have any questions throughout
I'd
lesson
be
1, 2, or 3,
I would be much open to that if people wanted to write in questions.
yeah. Now I'm not inviting people to join us. That's why I'm saying comment
Right.
on the
No, no, no. They'd
videos.
have to put them in ahead of time, and then we could go through the questions, not
Yeah.
join us. No, I don't. I won't go for that.
No, I think that would be a great idea. If people have any questions, and I
Right.
can't 100% guarantee, depending on your question, we may not be able to give you an answer in a public status. If that's the case, we'll try to address the fact that you need to contact KL privately. And again, his email is in the video description. But we'll put together another lesson for early 2023. And if you have questions from lessons 1, 2, or 3, please comment down below in the comment section and we'll address it in a future video. You got
Sounds
anything
good.
else you want to add before we
No,
wrap up?
again, Chris, it's a great, being on your show. I really want to say thank you to you for everything that you do on behalf of everyone else. I think you, like me, are trying to do what we can to help benefit others and the country at the same time, and that's to spread knowledge as best we can.
Well, the feeling is definitely mutual, my friend, and I definitely value your time and value your information, and I look forward to more conversations. So, thank you again, and happy holidays to you and your family and everybody that's viewing. Again, make sure you guys contact me directly if you want to get documents. I've been for the videos. I will send you a link directly. Do not contact KL just to get the documents. If you're interested in learning from him in the private, his information is down below in the video description. Make sure you subscribe to both of my channels, Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain. And I'm going to leave you with this. I encourage you to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch you want to see in the matrix. Be the change you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.